What was the hardest part of quitting your dream job? I was obsessed with cars since I was like 8 years old. Drew them constantly in my notebooks instead of paying attention in math class. My teacher, Miss Kelly, would confiscate my sketches, and I'd start new ones 5 minutes later. When I got accepted to engineering school, my parents finally believed this wasn't just a phase. After graduation, I landed my dream job at this luxury electric car company. Not Tesla or anything famous, but they made these insane vehicles that cost more than most people's houses. I was their lead mechanical designer. My cubicle was covered in blueprints, empty energy drink cans, and prototype parts I'd sneak home to work on. The first year was incredible. I'd sleep in the office sometimes just because I didn't want to stop working. My coworkers thought I was crazy, but they respected the dedication. When our latest model launched, my name was literally on the patent for the cooling system I designed. I took a photo of that patent document and sent it to my parents. Mom cried happy tears, but success came with a price nobody warned me about. First, it was staying until 9 p.m. instead of 6 o'clock. Then, weekends became optional, but not really. Optional, then I started getting calls at 2 a.m. because some part failed safety testing and we needed to redesign everything by morning. I told myself this was normal. This was the price of building the future, right? My girlfriend Emma started complaining that we never hung out anymore. I'd promise her weekend trips and then cancel last minute because of work emergencies. She'd order pizza for two and eat alone while I stayed late at the office again. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday. I was hunched over my desk tweaking designs for our next prototype when this FedEx guy walked into our lab. Regular delivery guy, nothing special, but he was holding this beat-up cardboard box with a bright yellow sticky note that said Urgent Jordan in my sister Kate's handwriting. I signed for it, thinking it was probably car magazines or something boring. But inside was this small red notebook with a cartoon car drawn on the cover in crayon. The first page had a letter from my 8-year-old niece, Lucy. It said, "Uncle Jordan, Mommy told me you've been working really hard lately, so I made you a book of all the fun things we could do together. You had one Saturday free. I hope you like it, and I hope you're not too busy to read it." Every page after that was a different crayon drawing. Go to the zoo and see the elephants. Bake chocolate chip cookies like we used to watch Shrek for the millionth time. Build a fort in the living room, have a sleepover, and stay up past my bedtime. I was smiling at first, thinking how sweet she was, but then I got to the very last page. It just had big, shaky letters in purple crayon that said, "Or is it too late now?" That question hit me harder than any failed prototype or missed deadline ever had. I sat there staring at those for words, realizing I hadn't seen Lucy in 3 months. I'd missed her birthday 2 weeks ago. I sent a gift card through Amazon instead of showing up like I used to. I looked around the lab, fluorescent lights buzzing. Overhead, the smell of hot metal and coffee. My coworkers still hunched over their computers at 8 p.m. for the first time. It felt like a prison instead of paradise. That night, I drove to Kate's house instead of going home. Lucy was already in her pajamas, but she ran to the door when she heard my car. "Uncle Jordan, you came." She hugged my legs so tight, I almost started crying right there. We stayed up way past her bedtime building a blanket for it and watching movies. Kate made us popcorn and kept giving me these looks like she was proud I finally showed up. When I tucked Lucy into bed, she whispered, "Does this mean you're not too busy for me anymore?" The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. Then I wrote my resignation letter on Kate's kitchen table while Lucy drew me more pictures of cars. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from my team, but I ignored them all. When I finally went in to quit, my boss practically begged me to stay, offered me a $20,000 raise, promised to make me head of the entire next vehicle line, said I was throwing away everything I'd worked for, but I'd already cleaned out my desk, packed up all my sketches and patents and energy drink cans. As I walked out of that building for the last time carrying my cardboard box of dreams, I felt lighter than I had in months, but walking away wasn't easy. That cardboard box didn't just hold tools and drawings, it held pieces of my identity. For so long, my worth was measured in deadlines met, designs approved, innovations patented. That place had been my dream, my obsession, my everything. But somewhere along the way, I'd started treating the people I loved for the machines I was building. The hardest part of quitting my dream job wasn't losing the paycheck, or the title, or the future I'd imagined since childhood. It was accepting that the thing I once loved most had quietly become the thing that was draining me, and that walking away didn't mean failure. It meant finally choosing life over legacy. Now, months later, my days are slower. I freelance a bit, teach local high school students about engineering basics, and yes, I still sketch cars. But I do it at Lucy's kitchen table, usually with her elbow deep in crayons next to me. Sometimes we build cardboard prototypes together. Her latest invention is a flying ice cream truck that shoots sprinkles. It makes no engineering sense, but it makes her smile, and honestly, that's a design I wouldn't trade for anything. Quitting my dream job broke my heart, but it gave me back everything else. I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting their train wreck of a marriage on Reddit, but here we are. I guess I need to document this somewhere, and my therapist says writing helps. Though I doubt she meant to air all your dirty laundry on Reddit. LOL. For context, married to Camille for 6 years. We met in this tiny town in Colorado when my Audi broke down during the worst blizzard they'd seen in 20 years. Every shop was closed except this one garage where she was the only mechanic working. I was impressed as hell. She diagnosed the problem in like 10 minutes. Bad fuel injector plus frozen lines. While waiting for parts, we talked for hours. She was putting herself through school working as a mechanic. I wanted to be a lawyer, smart as hell, ambitious, gorgeous. I was sold. That night turned into a weekend long distance, and a year later, we were living together in Denver. I was just getting my software business off the ground. Network security solutions for small businesses. Not exactly sexy, but it pays the bills. She finished law school, passed the bar, and landed at this prestigious firm. Life was good. We had a system. I supported us while she was in school. Then she started bringing in the big money while I grew my company fast. Forward to this January. Camille starts working late every Tuesday. Always Tuesday. At first, I didn't think much of it. Law firms are notorious for their hours. But then I noticed other changes. The password on her phone changed. Started showering as soon as she got home, and she smelled different, like hotel soap, not her usual stuff. I'm not an idiot. Well, maybe I was for a while, but I'm also not the type to make accusations without evidence. So I did what any paranoid tech guy would do. I checked our shared accounts, credit card statements, showed charges at the Marriott downtown, room for 112 every Tuesday for 8 freaking months. Always paid in full, always the same room, the name on the reservation, Justin Parker, her colleague. At the firm, married guy with 2 kids. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I compiled everything. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, even matched her working late texts with the hotel check-in times. I also reviewed our prenup, the one she insisted on when my business started taking off. Funny thing about prenups, they work both ways. And ours had a crystal clear infidelity clause, 7B, that she apparently forgot about. Yesterday, it all came to a head. She came home late, not even Tuesday. The audacity. And I could smell his cologne on her. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. When I asked where she'd been, she smirked and said, "Working late," obviously, with this condescending tone that made my blood boil. I just nodded and went to bed in the guest room. This morning, I transferred all our joint funds to accounts only I could access. Completely legal according to our prenup clause. Then I waited. At 11:43 a.m., the text came through. "I'm taking everything in the divorce. House, cars, your business. My lawyer says you'll be living in a box. Enjoy being homeless, loser. I literally laughed out loud. She had no idea what was coming. I texted back, check your bank account. 3 minutes later, I timed it. What the FCK? Where's my money? I replied with a screenshot of our prenup. Clause 7b highlighted, adultery by either party results in forfeiture of all joint assets and businesses. Below it, I sent all 8 months of hotel receipts. Every Tuesday, Marriott, room 412 with timestamps and the name Justin Parker. My phone rang immediately. I put it on speaker while continuing to work on my laptop. She was screaming so loud I had to lower the volume. How I couldn't do this to her. How she built that business with me. She didn't. She was busy screwing Justin while I pulled 80 weeks. How I was ruining her life. I just laughed and said, goodbye, loser. Oh, by the way, Justin's wife got copies of everything, too. Then I blocked her number, but not before setting up an email filter to save all her messages. Always keep receipts. Guys, always around 3 a.m. I checked my email, 90 messages from different platforms, email, WhatsApp, even LinkedIn. Forsake, I'm homeless. Justin left me. I'm sleeping in my car. Please, I'm sorry. Turns out Justin's wife kicked him out and reported him to their firm's ethics board. Their affair violated some client-attorney relationship clause because they were working on some of the same cases. His career is basically over. As for Camille, her mom called me this morning crying that she's lost everything. According to her, Camille showed up at their place at 4 a.m. with just her purse and the clothes on her back. Apparently, Justin had promised they would start a new life together once they both left their spouses. Instead, he blocked her number and is desperately trying to save his marriage. I was about to hang up when Camille's mom said something that made my blood run cold. She wasn't just sleeping with him, Keith. They were planning to steal your clients. Before I could ask what she meant, there was pounding on my front door. I looked through the peephole to see Camille's father, brother, and two people I didn't recognize standing on my porch, and that's where I am now. They've been out there for 20 minutes calling my name, saying they just want to talk. My security system shows them trying to peek in windows. I've called the police, but who knows how, long before they arrive. I'm not sure what they want, but I'm not opening that door. Will update when I can. Update 1, thanks for the support. Things have escalated fast in the last 24 hours, so here's what's happening. When I left off, Camille's family was outside my house and I heard sirens. Turns out those sirens were actually from my neighbor. Something about a burst pipe flooding their basement. Totally unrelated, but I did call the cops myself and they showed up about 15 minutes later. Here's where it gets weird. When the officers arrived, Camille's dad immediately started acting super reasonable. All we just want to talk about is a family matter, etc. The two people I didn't recognize, Camille's uncle, who was apparently some hotshot attorney, and get this, Justin's wife. Yeah, Justin's wife was there with Camille's family. The cops asked if I wanted to press charges for trespassing, but I was so confused by this alliance that I said I'd hear them out first with the police still present. I'm not an idiot. So we all sat in my living room, most awkward meeting ever. Justin's wife, Melissa, spoke first. She wasn't there to defend Camille at all. Apparently, after I sent her the evidence, she confronted Justin and he cracked immediately, showed her texts between him and Camille going back almost a year, and guys, it was so much worse than I thought. The client stealing something Camille's mom mentioned, it wasn't just stealing clients. They were planning to clone my entire business model, software and all. Justin had been recording our conversations at dinner parties for months. Every time I talked about my business strategies or upcoming features, he was gathering intel. Camille had access to all my code repositories, password sharing between spouses. Lesson learned, she'd been downloading everything and feeding it to Justin, who had a developer friend ready to rebrand it all. Their plan: 1. Divorce me. 2. Take half my business in the settlement. 3. Launch their competitor using my own code. 4. Poach all my clients with lower rates temporarily. 5. Destroy me professionally. That's why Camille's family was there. Her mom found out about the plan last night when Camille broke down and told her everything. Her dad and uncle were furious. Not at me, but at her. Turns out her dad was an early investor in my business. Put in 20 grand when we were starting out. He didn't know Camille had such a ruthless streak in her. As for Melissa, Justin's wife, she brought screenshots of everything. Their entire plan laid out in texts and emails. Justin apparently was stupid enough to use their family computer for this and never cleared his browser history. So why were they all at my house? Different reasons. Camille's dad warned me and apologized to Camille's uncle to discuss legal options against both Camille and Justin. Melissa proposes we work together to make sure both Camille and Justin face consequences. I was still processing all this when my phone pinged with a security alert. Someone was trying to access my business admin panel from an unknown device. 3 guesses who? I pulled up the logs right there in front of everyone. The IP address traced to a Starbucks across town. Camille was literally sitting in a coffee shop trying to hack into my systems while her family was apologizing to me at my house. I locked her out permanently and changed every password, security question, and recovery email on the spot. Then I called my developer. Shout out to Ryan, who dropped everything on a Saturday to help. And we initiated what I call Protocol Scorched Earth. Basically, a complete security overhaul that invalidates all existing access tokens. That's when my parents showed up unannounced. My mom had been trying to call me all morning. My phone was still filtering unknown numbers after blocking Camille. And when I didn't answer, they drove 3 hours from Wyoming to check on me. Classic worried parents move. When my mom heard what was happening, she went full mama bear mode. She pulled Melissa aside and they talked quietly for like 20 minutes. Then my dad, who's usually the calmest person I know, called his buddy who works in digital forensics. Within an hour, this guy shows up at my house with equipment to go through my home network and check for any backdoors or keystroke loggers Camille might have installed. Turns out she had installed spyware on my laptop 3 months ago. We found evidence she'd been taking screenshots of my business communications and forwarding them to an email account I didn't recognize. While all this was happening, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. This isn't over. You think you're so smart. Wait till Monday. Had to be either Camille or Justin. By evening, we had a plan. Melissa and I would both file restraining orders first thing Monday. Camille's uncle would help prepare a cease and desist regarding my intellectual property. My parents would stay with me for a few days as witnesses. In case Camille tried anything, Dad's forensics friend would prepare a report documenting the spyware. Sunday morning. Today, I woke up to another security alert. Someone tried to access my personal banking app at 4:27 a.m. The attempt was from a device registered to surprise Justin's home network. So much for him cutting ties with Camille. They're still working together. I called Melissa immediately. She burst into tears. Apparently, Justin had told her he was staying at a hotel, but his location on their family tracking app showed he was at home all night. She drove over there and found both their cars in the driveway. So now Melissa's staying at my parents' guest room. They insisted, and we're all waiting for the banks and courts to open tomorrow. The 3 of us spent today calling all my clients to warn them about potential phishing attempts or people claiming to represent my company. Just as we finished the last call, a manila envelope was delivered to my door. Inside was a formal legal notice. Apparently, Camille is challenging the prenup, claiming I coerced her into signing it and that I've been hiding assets in cryptocurrency accounts. The thing is, I do have crypto accounts. They're completely legitimate investments that I've disclosed on every tax return, but they weren't specifically mentioned in the prenup because I bought the coins after we got married. So now I'm sitting here with my parents, Melissa, and a growing sense that tomorrow is going to be a nightmare. I can't believe the woman I supported through law school is now trying to use that same law degree to destroy me. Will update when I know more. Wish. Emmy luck for tomorrow. Update 2. Okay, so Monday. Yesterday was absolute chaos and I'm still processing WTF happened. Buckle up because this is getting wilder by the hour. First thing in the morning, I met with my attorney to go over the prenup challenge Camille filed. We were prepping counter moves when my phone blew up with notifications. Turns out 3 of my biggest clients received emails from a new company called Secure Solutions offering to transition their security services seamlessly with a 30% discount. The logo was basically a color-swapped version of my company logo. The website had testimonials from clients I've never worked with, probably fake, and the contact email info at securenetolutins.co. Just a freaking letter away from my domain.com, they had already registered social media accounts with almost identical branding to mine. This wasn't just planning anymore. They had launched the competing business overnight. My lawyer immediately started drafting cease and desist letters for trademark and copyright infringement. While we were dealing with this, Melissa, Justin's wife, called in a panic. Justin had emptied their joint savings account, all $47,000 gone. He also took their kids' college fund money, another $35,000. She was literally at the bank trying to freeze everything else when she called me. I had to pause the meeting with my lawyer to help her figure out what to do. My parents drove back to Wyoming to help Melissa secure the rest of her assets and move her stuff out of the house before Justin could do more damage. Mid-afternoon, my attorney suggested we meet with the judge handling the prenup challenge immediately. We managed to get an emergency hearing scheduled for 4 p.m. We were leaving his office. I got a text from an unknown number. Check your email. The email contained an audio file. I played it in the car on the way to court and my blood ran cold. It was a recording of me talking about a security vulnerability we discovered in a client's system last year. The conversation was from my own living room, recorded secretly during a dinner party Camille had hosted. There were 7 more recordings attached. All conversations I'd had in my own home about clients, security issues, and business strategy. Some included client names and specific details about their systems. My lawyer immediately called the court to add this new evidence to our case. We were already arguing that Camille violated the prenup through infidelity, but now we had proof of corporate espionage too. When we arrived at court, Camille was already there with Justin and some attorney I'd never seen before. She looked like wearing the same clothes from days ago, hair unwashed. Justin looked worse, unshaven, bloodshot eyes. They were huddled together, whispering intensely, and stopped abruptly when they saw me. The hearing was supposed to be about the prenup challenge, but my lawyer immediately presented the new evidence about the competing business and secret recordings. The judge was not happy, especially about the recordings made without consent. Illegal in our state. BTW. Camille's attorney tried arguing that the recordings were irrelevant to the prenup challenge, but the judge shot that down fast. Then came the bombshell. Justin stood up and asked to address the court. His attorney looked shocked. Clearly, this wasn't planned. Justin walked to the front and admitted everything. The affair, the business plan, the recordings, all of it. He even brought a thumb drive with emails between him and Camille going back 2 years. Turns out this wasn't some recent scheme they cooked up. They'd been planning this since before CO. The original plan was to leave their spouses simultaneously, launch the competing business, and move to Austin together. The pandemic delayed everything, but they kept working on it. The craziest part, Justin claimed Camille approached him with the idea, not the other way around. According to him, she said our marriage was a business arrangement that had outlived its usefulness and that I was too trusting to succeed long-term in this industry. The judge ordered a recess after Justin's confession. During the break, Justin's attorney pulled mine aside and proposed a deal. Justin would testify against Camille. In exchange for immunity from civil damages, my lawyer told him we'd consider it. When court resumed, the judge threw out Camille's prenup challenge entirely. Not only that, he issued a temporary restraining order preventing both Camille and Justin from using any information related to my business or contacting my clients. As we were leaving, Camille blocked my path in the hallway. She was shaking with rage, saying I ruined her life and destroyed everything she worked for. I just laughed and walked around her. That's when she grabbed my arm and dug her nails in so hard she drew blood. Security pulled her off me and my lawyer immediately filed for a formal restraining order. The whole thing was caught on courthouse security cameras, so that's another nail in her coffin. By evening, I was physically and mentally drained. I ordered pizza and crashed on the couch with my laptop, trying to damage control with clients who'd received emails from SecureNet Solutions. Around 9 p.m., my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera, expecting maybe a neighbor or late package delivery. It was Justin, alone, sober, calm. Against my better judgment, I let him in, keeping the security camera recording. He sat at my kitchen table, looking defeated, and pushed a manila envelope across to me. Inside was a USB drive, a stack of printed emails, and a handwritten list of every client Camille had contacted about their fake company. He said he was done with Camille, done with the plan, done with everything. He'd already contacted the state bar association to self-report their ethics violations. When I asked why the sudden change of heart, he said something that didn't make sense at first. Check email 16. It was never about the money. After he left, I went through the emails. Number 16 was from Camille to Justin from 3 years ago, before their affair even started. The subject line, Rory, acquisition interest. The email referenced a conversation with someone named TD about acquiring my company, not a competitor looking to buy us out, a private equity firm that specializes in hostile takeovers. They break companies apart and sell the pieces. Camille had been approached by this firm because of her connection to me. They offered her a percentage if she could help them acquire my business at a bargain price. The affair with Justin, the plan to clone my business, even the divorce threat, it was all part of a strategy to devalue my company and force me to sell. I stayed up all night going through everything. There were dozens of emails between Camille and this TD person. The most recent was from just last week telling Camille to accelerate the timeline because they had another acquisition target if mine fell through. I was still processing this when my phone pinged with a new email notification at 5 a.m. The sender TDL BlackstoneVentures.net. Subject, a mutually beneficial proposal. The message, Mr. My last name. It seems your wife was unable to execute our arrangement. Perhaps you'd prefer to discuss terms directly. We can offer you a far better deal than what she was getting. My office tomorrow, 10 a.m. An address in downtown Denver was in the signature. I immediately forwarded everything to my lawyer and called an emergency meeting with my core team for 8 a.m. I don't know who this TD is yet, but I'm about to find out. And whoever they are, they picked the wrong guy to with. We'll update after the meeting tomorrow. This isn't just about Camille anymore. Final update. Wow, these past 10 days have felt like 10 years. Sorry for the delay in updating. My lawyer advised going silent while we handled the fallout, but I've got so much to share and I needed to write this all down just to process it. So, last time I left off, I was about to meet this mysterious TD person. We showed up at the address, a glass high-rise in downtown Denver, at 9:45 a.m., fully prepared for battle. My team included my lawyer, Ryan, my lead developer, and a digital forensics guy my dad knows. The receptionist directed us to the 22nd floor, Blackstone Ventures. As soon as we stepped off the elevator, I knew we weren't dealing with some small-time operation. The office screamed money, all glass and chrome with views of the mountains. We were led to a conference room where a guy in his 50s was waiting. Thomas Delaney, TD himself, salt and pepper hair, expensive watch, that weird confidence that only comes from having you money. He greeted me by name like we were old friends. and acted surprised when I brought a team with me, as if I'd be stupid enough to walk into this alone. The meeting started with him sliding a folder across the table, an acquisition offer for my company, $7 million, which sounds like a lot until you realize my company is worth at least $22 million in today's market. I didn't touch the folder, just stared at him and asked why he'd worked with my wife to try to destroy my business instead of approaching me directly with an offer. That's when he dropped the bombshell. Camille had approached them, not the other way around, according to TD. Camille contacted Blackstone 3 years ago after meeting one of their associates at some law firm event. She pitched them on acquiring my company, claiming she could help get it at a distressed price. Her initial plan was to convince me to sell during CO when everyone was panicking. But when my business actually grew during the pandemic, she needed a new strategy. Enter Justin and the affair. It wasn't just about sex or even about stealing. My business model, the affair, was part of a multi-step plan. Emotional distraction to keep me from noticing other things. Grounds for divorce to get half my assets inside man to help copy intellectual property, creating a competing business to drive down my company's value, forcing me to sell at a massive discount. When I asked why TD would work with such an elaborate scheme, he just shrugged and said, "She came to us with the plan already formed. We simply provided resources." My lawyer started recording on his phone. One-party consent state, totally legal. I asked TD if he was admitting to corporate espionage and conspiracy. That's when his whole demeanor changed. He said this meeting was a courtesy to offer me a dignified exit before things got unnecessarily messy. I leaned forward and played my trump card, holding up a USB drive containing all the evidence Justin had provided, plus the recordings from my home, plus emails between Camille and TD going back 3 years. I told him we had already filed complaints with the SEC and State Attorney General's office regarding their predatory acquisition practices and use of corporate espionage. His face actually twitched. Then I counter-offered they could either face multiple federal investigations and lawsuits, or they could sign a non-compete agreement never to approach my business or industry again to pay damages for the attempted corporate sabotage. I suggested $5 million provide written testimony about Camille's involvement. TD tried to play it cool, saying we had no real evidence of Blackstone's direct involvement. That's when Ryan pulled up emails from TD's company account discussing the plan with Camille. TD's face went from confident to ashen in about 5 seconds. He asked us to step out while he made some calls. We went to a coffee shop downstairs and waited. 20 minutes later, my lawyer's phone rang. TD's attorney wanted to meet. By the end of the day, we had a signed agreement. They would pay $3 million in damages, sign extensive non-compete agreements, and provide written statements about Camille's role in everything. In exchange, we wouldn't pursue criminal charges against Blackstone directly. With TD taken care of, I could focus on Camille and Justin. The next day, my lawyer filed an expanded divorce petition, including all the new evidence. We also filed a separate civil suit against both Camille and Justin for corporate espionage, intellectual property theft, and conspiracy. Justin's attorney reached out immediately, wanting to make a deal. Justin would testify against Camille and TD in exchange for reduced civil penalties. We agreed, but only if he also paid back the money he took from Melissa's accounts. Camille, meanwhile, was spiraling. She showed up at my office unannounced on Thursday trying to talk to me. Security escorted her out, but not before she caused a scene in the lobby, screaming about how I owed her for supporting me while I built my business. The irony of her claiming she supported me when she was the one in school while I worked is just a chef's kiss. I paid for her law degree. I supported her dreams, and this is how she repaid me. The next confrontation happened at the courthouse during a hearing about the restraining order. Camille approached me in the hallway. Suddenly, all tears and apologies, she tried to grab my hand, saying she made a mistake and we could still fix things. I pulled away and told her to talk to my lawyer. That's when she slapped me. Hard enough to leave a mark right in front of courthouse security cameras. Not the smartest move for someone already facing potential disarmament. The security guards detained her immediately. My lawyer filed for assault charges on the spot. The judge was not pleased when he heard about it during our hearing 10 minutes later. The restraining order was granted along with a complete freeze on the SecureNet Solutions company Camille and Justin had set up. The judge also ordered a full accounting of all my intellectual property they had accessed or copied. As all this was happening, 3 of my clients who had been contacted by Camille came forward with recordings of their conversations. She had bad-mouthed me, claimed I was under investigation for fraud, completely false, and offered them rescue services with Secure. Those recordings were the final nail in her legal career coffin. The State Bar Association opened a formal ethics investigation, and she was placed on immediate suspension pending the outcome. Justin, meanwhile, was trying to save his own skin. He provided detailed testimony about how Camille had approached him, seduced him, and convinced him to join her scheme. According to him, she had done most of the planning while he provided technical connections through a college friend who helped set up the competing business. His testimony revealed that Camille had been planning this for years. She had methodically gathered information, built connections, and waited for the right moment, all while sleeping next to me every night. All while I thought we were partners building a life together. On Monday, 2 days ago, we had the final divorce hearing. Camille didn't even show up. Her attorney appeared alone, looking exhausted, and didn't contest anything the judge granted. The divorce upheld the prenup entirely and awarded me additional damages for the business interference. Yesterday, I got a call from Camille's mom. She was crying, saying Camille had shown up at their house with all her belongings and trash bags. Apparently, she'd been living in her car for days after getting evicted from the cheap motel she was staying in. Her credit cards were maxed out, her bank accounts empty, and her career essentially over. Her mom asked if I could help her just until she gets back on her feet. I laughed, not a mean laugh, just the absurdity of it all finally hit me. After everything Camille had done, the affair, the theft, the lies, the literal conspiracy to destroy me. Her mom thought I should help her. I told her mom I was sorry. She was caught in the middle, but Camille had made her choices, very calculated choices over years. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness, it was a sustained campaign to ruin me. Last night around 2 a.m., my security system alerted me to someone at the front door. I checked the camera to see Camille sitting on my porch crying into her phone. I didn't open the door, just called the police and reported a violation of the restraining order. They took her away in a patrol car. My neighbor texted me this morning, saying he'd witnessed the whole thing. Apparently, Camille was screaming about how I destroyed her life and took everything from her. The irony isn't lost on me. Those were almost exactly the words she texted me before I revealed I knew about the affair. Enjoy being homeless, loser. Now she's the one without a home, career, or future. I wish I could say I feel bad about it, but I don't. She tried to take everything from me, not just my money or business, but my dignity and future. And she did it coldly, methodically over years. So, where do things stand now? The divorce is final. Camille is facing potential criminal charges for corporate espionage and assault. Justin has lost his job, but avoided criminal charges in exchange for testimony. Blackstone Ventures paid $3 million in damages and signed non-compete agreements. My business is recovering, though we lost to clients during the chaos. Melissa and her kids are still at my parents' place in Wyoming, figuring out next steps. I'm sleeping better than I have in months. I've learned that the people closest to you can be the most dangerous. Camille knew exactly how to hurt me because she knew exactly what mattered to me. This morning, I woke up to an email from one of our mutual friends. She forwarded me a message Camille had sent her last night before the porch incident. It was a long rambling text about how she never meant for things to go this far and how it started as just a business opportunity but became something else. According to her message, she convinced herself that I didn't deserve my success because it came too easily to me. She resented that I built a thriving business while she had to struggle through law school. The entitlement is staggering. She chose law school. I paid for it. I worked 80-hour weeks building my company while supporting us both. Nothing came easily. I earned every bit of my success. So that's where things stand. I'm rebuilding. She's destroyed just like she planned for.